Hello grade 8 learners, welcome to today's social studies lesson for grade 8 junior school students. And in our today's lesson we'll be looking at population growth in Africa. That is a sub-strand under the first strand, people and population. I will be your teacher and your facilitator, teacher Duncan Guadima. Make sure you prepare yourself with a pen and an exercise book, and also ensure you are in a conducive environment away from any disruption. Also, you can participate in our live lesson through the number that will be shown on your screen. If you have any question, because we'll be asking questions, you can respond through the number that will be on your screen. So welcome and be on standby as we start our lesson for today. So in today's lesson, we're going to cover population growth in Africa. Population growth in Africa. Remember, this is social studies lesson for grade 8 students, and we'll be covering population growth in Africa. And we'll be asking ourselves, what is population? That is the first question that we need to know. What is population? That is our first question. Now, population, it refers to a number of people living in a certain area or location. The number of people living in a certain location makes up a population. But we are going to look at population growth in Africa, and we'll be looking at what is population growth. What is population growth? Now, population growth, it refers to the change of population size in region over a period of time. Sometimes the population of a place can change either positively or negatively. So, the change of population size in that region over a period of time, it makes us what we call population growth. And how will you be able to know that the population place of a place has increased either positively or negatively? You will know through what we call census. You will know that through what we call census. Now, students, what is census? Use the number that is on your screen to give us your answer. What is census? So, population growth is determined by carrying out a census. Census refers to counting of people. The counting of people is what we call census. Census refers to the counting of people. And as we have said, census is carried out so that the country can be able to plan for its people. And for us to know that the population size of a place has either increased or decreased, we will do or we will perform what we call census. In Kenya, census or the counting of people is carried out after a certain period of time. Students, using the number that is on your screen, answer this question. For how long is census performed in Kenya? For how long does census take to be performed in Kenya? Good. Now, in Kenya, census is carried out after 10 years. Census is carried out in Kenya. Census is carried out in Kenya after every 10 years. And also, as we said, that the population of a place can either be positive or negative. Positive means the population has increased. So the population of a place can either be positive, the population of a place can either be positive or negative. The population of a place can either be positive or negative. And also, when we talk about a negative population or a positive population, what are we trying to say? Negative population, it occurs when there are some people living a certain country. When people are living a certain country, we call that negative population or slow population. Or slow population. When you have people living a country, that is negative or slow population growth. But positive population is as a result when the birth rates or people coming into the country, the rate at which people come to our country or the rate at which the birth rates are high, they form what we call a positive population or rapid population growth. Now, in Kenya, we have both rapid population growth and negative population growth. Also, in Africa, because now we are referring to Africa, we have areas that have got slow population and areas that have got rapid population growth. And as we have said, that when we are talking about negative population growth, it occurs when people are leaving a certain country, going to settle in a different country. And then a positive population growth, we said it is as a result of high birth rates or immigration. Well, we will be looking at the meaning of immigration or what it means. So the rate at which immigration or birth rates are high, it results to high or rapid population growth. And also, just to remind you that rapid population growth, once again, is also known as positive population growth because the population is increasing and increasing. Negative population growth, it means the population of a place is decreasing, Now, students, using the number that is on your screen, what are some of the factors that can make the population of a place to increase and also the population of a place to decrease? What are some of the factors that can lead to the population of a place to increase or to decrease? Use the number that is on your screen to give us your response. Thank you. Now, that takes us to something else. What are some of the causes of population growth in Africa? When we will be looking at the causes of population growth, we will be looking at the causes of one, rapid population growth, and which is also known as positive. And two, we'll be looking at the slow or negative population growth. So we'll be looking at what are some of the things that makes the population of a place to increase, that is in a positive way. Or what are some of the factors that can make the population of a place to decrease, that is slow or negative population growth. Now, population growth in Africa is influenced by several factors, and these factors, they both affect positive or negative population growth. There are factors that will, one, make the population of a place to increase or to decrease. And also, let me just add something here. Rapid means to increase and slow means to decrease. Why am I using these terms? It's because sometimes you will find examiners using rapid, others using positive, others using increase. Others will still use slow, others will use negative, others will still use decrease when we are referring to negative population growth. So now we will be looking at the causes of population growth in Africa. Some of these factors that make the population of a place either to increase or to decrease are: one, factors. We have one, birth rates. Birth rates or death rates. Birth rates stroke death rates. Now, high birth rates and high death rates will both have an effect on population growth. Birth rates will have an effect on rapid population growth, whereas death rate will have an effect on negative population growth. In other words, high birth rates in Africa, they are brought up due to several factors. And if we have high birth rates, it means we are going to have a rapid population growth. And then if we talk about declining mortality rates, which means death rates, when we have high death rates, then it means that the population of that place is going to be very slow. Students, what are some of the causes of death rates in Africa? What causes death rates in Africa? You use the number that is on your screen to give us your response. Number 2, and before you go to number 2, still on birth rates or high fertility rates, which means birth rates, there are so many reasons why we have high birth rates in Africa. There are so many reasons why we have high birth rates in Africa. One is preferences of a male or a female child, a boy or a girl. In many families, you find out that this family needs a boy child, but anytime a child comes is a girl. So you will find out that there are so many girls, but now the preference is a boy. Another reason why we have high birth rates in Africa is because of early marriages. When young people get married at a very young age, then the rate of birth is going to be very high. Also, we're still on birth rates. Another reason is limited access to contraceptives. Limited access to contraceptives, we understand that. And also traditional beliefs that value large families. There are those traditional beliefs that value large families, that if you have a large family, then you are important. So you see, that will make many people to have a lot of children, making the rate of birth go high, leading to rapid population growth. And then death rate I have explained. And then number 2, urbanization. Urbanization. Learners, what is urbanization? Use the number that is on your screen to give us your answer. What is urbanization? What is urbanization? Use the number that is on your screen to give us your answer. Now, urbanization, from the word urban, it refers to the growth of towns. Urbanization refers to the growth of towns. And in Africa, rapid urbanization or rapid growth of towns in Africa it leads to increased migration. People will always migrate to areas where we have urban towns. As they do that, it will lead to rapid population growth. So urbanization has got a positive effect on rapid population growth because people will always move to areas where we have towns compared to areas where we don't have towns or in rural areas. Also, lack of education. Lack of education. Now, lack of education is also a factor. It will limit individuals' understanding of the family planning methods and contraceptives, which results to high birth rates. If we don't have education to educate people on the use of use of contraceptives, it means we will have a high birth rate. But if we have education to educate people on family planning methods and use of contraceptives, that means we are going to have high birth rates leading to rapid population growth. And then lastly, we have natural calamities. Natural calamities. So you see, when we talk about lack of education once again, it will have an effect on both rapid and slow population growth. How? When we have education, which leading to slow population growth. But if we lack education, people will not be aware of the methods of family planning and the use of contraceptives, meaning that there is a large number of people who will have who will be giving birth, and then this one will lead to a rapid population growth. Let us go to natural calamities. What are some of the natural calamities that affect Africa? What are some of the natural calamities that affect Africa? Use the number that is on your screen to give us your answer. What are some of the natural factors that will affects Africa? Thank you. Now, natural calamities, there are so many that affect Africa. And some of these natural calamities, we have one, we have drought. Two, we have famine. Three, we have earthquake. We have earthquake. So these are some of the natural calamities that will have an effect on population growth, on either rapid or slow population growth. Now, natural calamities such as drought, famine, and earthquake, how do they affect population? How do they affect population? Now, both drought, famine, and earthquake, there is nobody who will wish to live in areas where we have drought, famine, and earthquake. So these natural calamities, they will slow down the rate of population growth. So natural calamities, they will slow down the rate of population growth in Africa. We are going to look at other factors that lead to rapid population growth on your screen. Some of the factors that lead to slow and rapid population growth. When we are talking about population growth, let learners understand that there are things that will make people to move in a given place to make the population of that place increase. And there are those factors that will make the population of a place to go down, and as it goes down, it will make the population of that place to go down, or it will affect the slow population growth. So on our screen, factors that lead to rapid and slow population growth. We'll be looking at them as we move. The factors that leads to positive or negative population growth. Let us look at these factors that leads to positive or negative population growth on our screen. And I know my director is projecting the notes for you so that you can be able to view them. The first one on positive side, the first factor on the positive side and the ones on the negative side. What are these factors apart from the ones we have looked at? As you can see on our screen, we have one on the rapid population growth, favorable climate. People will always move in areas with the favorable climate, leading to rapid population growth. And on the other side, we have the rising cost of living. If we have the cost of living going higher and higher, then the rate of population is going to slow down. Urbanization, we have looked at that. Low mortality rate, we have looked at that. Early marriages, we have looked at that on rapid population growth. Polygamy. What is polygamy? Polygamy, it refers to marrying of more than one wife. If you marry more than one wife, it means you are going to give birth. And by doing that, it is going to lead to rapid population growth. Change in cultural attitude. Change in cultural attitude is going to lead to rapid population growth, is what we were talking about, preferences. You prefer a certain child more than this child. Also, change in cultural attitude, it means that there are those cultures that take a boy child more important than a girl child. Therefore, they always want to have as many boys as possible. Then number 8 is reduced wars among communities. Remember, we're looking at Africa. There are countries in Africa where you cannot be able to settle due to wars. But if we have areas with reduced wars, then it means we are going to have a rapid population growth. Then on slow population growth, we have few children needed as a survival rate. In Africa, you will find out in urban areas, most people or most families in urban areas have got very small families. Why? Because they need children as a survival rate. And if you go to some communities, you find that there's as many children as possible. But in urban towns, we only have very few. The families are very small. Then also, family planning. Family planning, it is a control measure of having a certain number of children up to this time. So family planning will lead to slow population growth. Also, the spread of HIV and AIDS will still lead to slow population growth. When we have many people having or who have contracted HIV and AIDS, due to its effect and its consequences, many people will not be able to mingle with people with HIV and AIDS, leading to slow population growth. Education and career. How does education and career lead to slow population growth? When we have a country where there is poor education system, or we don't have good education facilities, it means that people will move from a country. People will always move from a country that has no good system of education to a country that has a more developed and advanced system of education. Then also in security, it will still lead to slow population growth. And we talked about that, which takes us towards, like, for example, if we talk about the northern part of Kenya, the northeastern part of Kenya, we talk about the countries like Somalia, where we have insecurity. And lastly, we have late marriages. When people get married at a very, when they are old, it means they not be able to give birth, leading to slow population growth. And also, emigration. How does emigration affect population growth? Emigration means people are moving from their own country to another country. So as you are leaving your own country, coming to another country, it means that you are going to affect the population of your own country, where it is going to be very, very slow. Then monogamy. Monogamy can still lead to slow population growth. It is marrying of one wife. Marrying of one wife is what we call monogamy. And the other side, we said it is called polygamy. If you compare the two, when you have one wife, it means maybe you are going to have a few children. But if we have polygamy, we are going to marry as many children as we are going to have, to marry as many wives as possible, then we are going to have as many children as possible, leading to rapid population growth. Then lack of proper medical care. If we don't have proper medical care, people will always migrate from that area. There is nobody who will be in a country that has got poor medical facilities. You will always prefer a country that has got good medical facilities. Then low birth rate. That one is connected to family planning. Family planning leads to low birth rate, and the low birth rate that we're talking about here, it will lead to low or slow or negative rapid growth. Now, boys and girls, as we have talked about the positive and the negative, population growth, or the slow and rapid population growth, both positive and negative population growth, there are some problems that will come up from the two. There are some problems that will lead to rapid population growth, and there are some problems that will lead to slow population growth. So that takes us to another thing, problems that results to rapid and slow population growth. Problems that results from rapid stroke slow population growth. In other words, when we're talking about problems resulting from slow population growth, what are we referring to? There are problems that will result to a population that is very high. And there are some problems that will result to a population that is very low. So, what are some of the problems that results from rapid population growth? When the population of a place is rapid, or is high, or is positive, one, we will have unemployment. Due to high population, we will have unemployment. People will always, because we will be having many people, then we are not going to have many people getting jobs. Number two, inadequate housing or slums. When we have high number of people settling in a given place, it means we are not going to have adequate housing. We also have inadequate social services such as hospitals, schools. We will find that people have like in towns, people have congested there, which leads to land fragmentation. Land fragmentation is where many people are settling in one land, and the land is very small. So due to rapid population growth, then we are going to have the land fragmentation. Also, the overuse of available resources. The resources that we have will be very few, and because they are very few, then people will overuse them. Because now we have many people, the resources are very few, so the ones that we have, they are not going to be put in good place. Then destruction of vegetation due to settlement. The government sometimes will have to tell people to move away, or we have to cut down trees, exploit the trees due to high number of people, leading to congestion, and also the people who will, the vegetations that will be cleared will be for settling people due to high rapid population growth. Then the dependency ratio will also be very high rate of dependency ratio. If we go on the other side, the problems resulting from slow population growth. Slow population growth has got also problems. When people are very few, what are some of the problems that will result to a population where we have low population growth or negative population growth? One, there's going to be slow growth of industries because we will not have enough labor. Because of shortage of labor, we are going to have slow population growth. Then also reduced market. The goods that we produce from the industries, who will buy them? Nobody, because the population is very slow. And then also we have a poor developed infrastructure. The infrastructure is going to be very poor now because the population is very slow compared to rapid population growth. And lastly, underutilization of resources. If we have many resources in a given area and the population is very slow, nobody is going to use those resources. Now, as we move on, we have looked at the problems resulting to rapid and slow population growth. Something else that we're going to look at is how can we manage population growth? Population growth can be managed, both rapid and slow population growth. And now we will be looking at ways of managing rapid population growth and ways of managing slow population growth. Now, rapid population growth, how can it be managed when people are too many? What can we do to make the population of that place to do what? To go down. One is providing family planning. Now that people are too many, we are going to provide family planning so that we have a certain number of people in a given population. Also, two, encouraging late marriages. If we encourage late marriages, then we are going to have slow population, and discouraging early marriages. If encouraging late marriages and discouraging high birth rate. So those are some of the things that will help us to manage rapid population growth. And lastly, encouraging monogamy, marrying of one wife. And you see, these points are contrary to the slow population growth. In the slow population growth, we can manage it by one, increasing food production. In other words, when we want the population of a place to be very high, it is low. If we want it to be very high, it means we are going to slow down to increase the food production and also improve social services, encourage immigration, and also discouraging monogamy. We discourage monogamy and encourage what we call polygamy. Now, we have looked at ways of managing. As we continue, both rapid and slow population growth have got effects. So let us look at effects of rapid population growth and effects of slow population growth. And these effects are both positive and negative. So the effects of rapid population are all negative, and this one are all positive, and we'll be looking at that. So we'll be looking at the population growth, the effects of population growth, and one, one of the effects of population growth is increased innovation. Increased innovation, many things coming, creativity, coming up with the new ideas, technology, those are innovations. Then number 2, development of urban centers, ready markets for goods and services, then increase in supply of human labor. Then negative effects of population growth, we have shortage of social services, we have food insecurity, will not be having enough food due to high population, increased crime rate, especially in rapid population growth, increased crime rate, loss of culture and diminishing of trust among citizens. Lack of culture is where now these days the mode of dressing is not the one that was there. We have now copied, the Africans have copied the stylistic dressing code of the Europeans, that which leads to loss of our own culture. And lastly, unemployment and poverty. Now that brings us to the end of population growth. And as we're still looking at population growth, we are saying population growth is brought by population growth. We have two types of population growth, the rapid and the slow. And the rapid population growth is brought up by people being many in a given area, and we've looked at those things that make up a population of a place to increase. So now let us look at something else that is connected to population growth, which is types of migration. Types of migration. Now, types of migration. Now, what is migration? Migration is the movement of people from one place to another. And the place that people move from is called the place of origin, where they are coming from. And where they are going to is called the place of destination. There is a TY quiz on your screen. Why do people migrate from one place to another? There are so many reasons that makes up that makes people to move from one place to another. As we go back to people and population, the language groups, we have reasons that make up a certain language group to move from their origin homeland to our own homeland, or from other countries to other countries. Now, why do people migrate from one place to another? Question number 2 on TY quiz, use the number that is on your screen. What are some of the reasons that made the major language groups to move from their original homeland to their current homeland? For example, the Bantus, Cushites, Semites, and also the Nilotes. Which reasons made them to migrate from their areas to their original homeland? Now, under migration, there are two types of migration. We have internal migration and external migration. We have internal and external. We have internal migration and external migration. Now, what is internal migration? This is the movement of people within the country. When I move from, maybe let's take an example from Dar es Salaam to Arusha. It is within that country. If I move from Kampala to Jinja in Uganda, it means I'm moving within that country. If I move from Nairobi to Mombasa, I am moving within that country. So that is what we call internal migration. Then external migration is moving from one country to another. Now, internal migration, it is made up of 4 types of migrations. These include rural to rural, 2, urban to urban, 3, rural to urban, and lastly, urban to rural. Urban to rural. These are the 4 types of internal migration. And rural to, if we look at the definition, rural to rural means people are moving from rural area, from one rural area to another rural area. When we talk about urban to urban, it means people are moving from one urban area to another urban area. Rural to urban, it means people are moving from one rural area to one urban area. And then urban to rural, it means you are moving from one urban area to another urban area, to another rural area. Then under external, we have two: immigration, and immigration. Immigration and immigration. Now, learners, what are some of the factors that can make people to move from one rural area to another rural area? Use the number that is on your screen to give us your answer. What are some of the reasons that make people move from one urban area to urban area, from one rural area to another to urban area, and from one urban area to rural area? Use the number that we have on the screen to give us your correct answer. What are some of the reasons that make people move from rural to rural, urban to urban, rural to urban, and urban to rural? And the only types of migration that we are going to handle today is external migration. Under external migration, we have said it is the migration of people from their country to other countries. Immigration into. People are moving from their own country to other countries. That is immigration. Emigration, it involves movement of people out of the country. Emi means out of. Emigration, out of the country. Emigration means out of the country. Immigration means into the country. So, external migration is migration of people from their country to other countries. There are only two types: immigration and emigration. And I've said immigration is the movement of people from people into the country. Then emigration is out of the country. Now, as we have looked at reasons for the movement of people from one place to another, there are reasons that may lead to people moving into a country. What can make me to move from my own country into another country? One, it is early migration. Early migration. We also have early trade. When we have trade, maybe in Uganda, there is developed trade in Uganda, and in my own country there isn't. What am I going to do? I will move out of my own country to their country. Then, number two is missionary work. I want to go and preach the gospel in a given country. So that one will lead to immigration. We have employment, business opportunities. I find out that in my own country there's no business opportunities or employment, it will make me to move from my own country to another country. Then colonization and civil wars. If our country is insecure, I will not be able to live in that country. I will move to another country where it is secured. So those are some of the reasons that will lead to immigration. Then emigration out of the country. We have one, slave trade. Slave trade can make you to move from a country to another country. You are being made a slave of maybe something in a given country, that will lead to immigration. Then desire to live more comfortably. If I want to live more comfortably in the United States of America, I will go there, because now I want to live at least a luxurious life. We also have dual citizenship, where you have more than two, where you are a citizen of more than 2 countries, religious reasons, and also lastly, natural calamities that we looked at. And then lastly, so those are some of the reasons that will lead to emigration. They are on our screen there. You are able to follow them as we move on with our lesson. Now, what are the effects of migration? Effects of migration. Effects of migration. What are the effects of migration? Now, the effects of migration, it has got both the effects in urban areas and 2 in rural areas. It has got both in urban areas and in rural areas. As people move from rural areas coming to urban areas, what is the effects of that migration, where they are coming from, and what will they cause where they are going to? Let us look at effects in urban areas. If we have people moving from rural to urban, it means in urban areas, 1, we will have unemployment because we will not have enough jobs for that large number of people. So that is an effect in urban area. And then number 2, we are going to have increased crime in urban areas. This increased crime include 1, drug and substance abuse. We have 2, rape cases. We have 3, stealing or theft in urban areas. What has it caused? It has caused due to people moving into urban areas. Then 3, increased immorality. We have looked at immorality where we have prostitution. Those are some of the, where we have theft. Those are some of the immoralities that we have. Robbery. And then also, number 4, we have shortage of schools and health facilities in urban areas. Why? Because now we have so many people coming in urban areas. There are no schools that that is going to accommodate people, that is going to accommodate all those students or all those that large number of people in urban areas. Next is shortage of proper housing. If you look at most of urban areas, we have slums, and these slums is due to a large number of people, a rapid population growth, and this rapid population growth, it is bringing an effect in urban areas. This proper housing, we have talked about slums, which leads to crowded streets. We have so many streets in areas that have got large number of people. Then pollution of the environment, change of cultural practices. How does that affect in urban areas? In change in cultural practices, there are those cultural practices practiced in rural areas. When you come to urban areas, you won't be able to do them. And also next is increased labor supply. Now that is a positive effect in urban area. Increased labor supply will have people to work in urban area compared to where they are coming from. Then lastly, reversal of roles. How does reversal of roles affect population in urban areas? Reversal of roles is where the father or the mother is doing the roles of a father. And I will not be able to explain in details. So reversal of roles is where you exchange roles from father to mother. The mother is performing the roles of the father. Maybe the father died, or maybe the father is in rural areas. So the mother is in urban areas with the children. So the mother is going to perform the roles of the father. And lastly, effects in rural areas. What is the effects of migration in rural areas? People are moving from urban areas to rural areas. We have seen what they are going to do in urban, the effects in urban areas. Now they have moved from rural areas. What are the effects of that in rural areas? What will be the effects of that in rural areas? Number one, reduced pressure on land. Now we will not have congestion in rural areas. Why? Because the number of people has reduced in rural areas, therefore, and the number of people has gone to overcrowd in urban areas, making the population in rural area to be, the pressure on land will be very low. Then also, shortage of labor. Now that more people have moved from rural area to urban area, who will work on the farm? Nobody. It will lead to shortage of land in rural area. Then remember, reversal of roles, it affects both in towns, in urban centers, and in rural areas. How? Reversal of roles. How does it reversal of roles? Let me explain that. Reversal of roles. It will affect both in rural areas and in urban areas. If I am the father working in town, my family is in rural area. My family is in rural area with the mother. It means the roles that the father will perform in rural area are going to be performed by the mother. That is the change of roles. Two, the roles that will be performed by the mother, now the father is not going to perform them because he's in town. So when we talk about reversal of roles, it means the roles of the father being performed by the mother, the roles of the mother being performed by the father. And even in children, some children are maybe where we don't have father and mother, the elder brother is now the head of the family. Then also the last effects is improved agricultural production and improved economic conditions. If we have many people moving into urban areas, then in rural areas we are going to have improved agricultural production because now the land will be put into use. Boys and girls, that brings us to the end of today's lesson. And in today's lesson, we are looking at population growth in Africa. We have looked at the two types of population. We have looked at the causes and the problems. We have also looked at migration, the types of migration that we have concluded with. And then we have also looked at what are the effects of migration in both urban areas and in rural areas. Remember, I have left for you an assignment to go and look at the reasons that leads to rural migration, urban to urban migration, rural to urban migration, and urban to rural migration. If you have any question or any inquiry, you can use the number that is on your screen to do your inquiry. That brings us to the end of our lesson for today. I've been your teacher and your facilitator, Teacher Duncan Guadima. Until next time, I want to say goodbye and thank you for enjoying our lesson.